For 40 years, Atlanta has grown the exact same way. Build north, extend the highways, buy cheap land, plant a subdivision, and watch the values rise. But that era is ending right now. And it is not because Atlanta stopped growing, it is because the formula that built Suwanee, Beaufort, and Lawrenceville has hit a wall. I'm Tim Trevathan, and I've been buying and selling homes in the North Atlanta suburbs for 10 years, and I'm about to break down exactly how Atlanta's growth model is changing forever. For decades, Atlanta followed one of the most predictable growth patterns of any major American city. Developers would find affordable land north of the city, push the highway corridor further out, install the infrastructure, and watch the demand follow. Gwinnett County alone grew from under 200,000 people in 1980 to over 1 million residents by 2024. That is an extraordinary run, and it happened because the formula worked almost every single time. The communities it created became household names for relocation buyers researching North Atlanta. Suwanee, Duluth, Beaufort, Lawrenceville, Decula, each of them followed a version of the same playbook, and each delivered consistent appreciation for buyers who got in at the right time. But here is the thing most people are not yet talking about. The conditions that made that playbook reliable are shifting in ways that will create real winners and real losers across the North Metro area. And the communities that win in the next 10 years are not necessarily the same ones that won in the last 10. So before I break down exactly who benefits and who faces headwinds, let me show you what the old model actually looked like and why it worked so well for so long. So the old model, Atlanta's suburban growth formula, was simple and it was incredibly effective. Buy raw land north of the city where property was cheap. Extend the highway corridor, whether that was I-85 through Gwinnett, Georgia 400 through North Fulton, or SR20 into South Forsyth. Connect the utilities, build master plan communities with consistent layouts and modern finishes. And then watch as corporate relocations, school districts with strong reputations, and a steady stream of out-of-state buyers turn those communities into fully established suburbs within 15 to 20 years. Gwinnett County became the engine of that model. The county now has over 1,027,000 residents as of the most recent Atlanta Regional Commission estimates, making it only the second county in Georgia history to cross the 1 million mark. And Georgia population projections show it is on track to exceed 1.25 million residents by 2060. Think about what that growth required. It required affordable land to build on, roads and utilities that could be cost-effectively extended, and a predictable demand curve from buyers who wanted newer construction at a price point that made sense compared to coastal metros. All three of those conditions existed in abundance across the North Metro corridor for roughly 40 years. This is why buyers who purchased in Suwanee, for example, in 2005 or Beaufort in 2010 could have fairly high confidence about the direction of their investment. The formula was reliable because the inputs were reliable. Here is what is changing everything, why it's changing now, and here's the piece that most buyers and sellers are not factoring into their decisions right now. The three pillars that made Atlanta's growth formula work, cheap land, expendable infrastructure, and predictable demand, are all under pressure simultaneously. And that combination is what makes this moment different from a typical market cycle. Start with land. The Supporter Report published an analysis of Atlanta's old growth model and identified three interconnected problems that have ended the era of cheap land suburban expansion. The end of cheap land, infrastructure, capacity limits, and the lack of efficient mass transit are all converging at once. The land that used to cost a fraction of established suburb prices now command premium rates because the easy-to-develop parcels that were available in the 1990s and 2000s are gone. Then layer in infrastructure. South Forsyth County actually enacted a temporary residential development moratorium as the county tried to manage the pace of growth relative to road capacity, school capacity, and utility capacity. That moratorium has since been partially lifted, but it signals something important. The days of frictionless suburban expansion are over. And then there is the cost side pressure on development. The housing info on the 2026 Atlanta market analysis describes months of supply shifting from around 3.1 last year to 3.8 now for single-family homes across the metro. A meaningful move toward buyer leverage that is direct consequence of new listings sitting longer as buyers become more selective and affordability conscious. Georgia-wide, days on market rose to 56 days in 2025, up 21.7% year over year according to the Georgia Realtors 2025 2025 annual report. What this means practically is that not every suburb is going to follow the same appreciation path going forward. The communities that win will be the ones with existing infrastructure that can absorb density increases, established amenities that buyers already value, and enough demand from the out-of-state relocation pipeline to keep absorption rates healthy. And that is exactly what I want to show you next. And that said, every buyer is different, and when you relocate from out of state, you have a completely different set of requirements to a local buyer. So if you want to understand which neighborhood in Atlanta would be the best fit for your budget and your goals, you can download my Atlanta Market Analysis Guide for free in the description below. And now, on to the next one. So, which communities in North Metro Atlanta are positioned to benefit from this shift? Let me give you the ones I am watching most closely right now based on the data. Not the hype. The first is Suwanee. The median sold price in Suwanee hit $640,000 in April 2025, up 6.7% year over year, according to Rocket Homes data compiled from FMLS. That kind of appreciation in a market where the broader Atlanta metro is flat to slightly down tells you something. Suwanee has existing infrastructure, a well-established community identity, and a location along the Buford Highway and I-85 corridor that gives buyers access to multiple employment centers without the premium that comes with Alpharetta or Johns Creek addresses. 80% of homes sold within 30 days in April of 2025. That is a market telling you there is genuine demand. The second area I want you to pay attention to is Duluth. The median price in Duluth sits at approximately $482,000 as of March 2026 per Redfin data. Now, price was down about 7.3% year over year in March, and days on market extended to 60 days compared to 29 days last year. So I'm not saying Duluth is on fire right now. What I am saying is that Duluth sits at the intersection of strong long-term fundamentals, existing cultural and commercial infrastructure that appeals directly to the relocation buyers who are the North Metro's largest demand source, a price point that is meaningfully below the North Fulton premium and established school district access. Third, I am watching South Forsyth County closely. Forsyth County's median price sat at $600,000 as of December 2025 per Redfin, with a median new home price range between $223 and $247 per square foot, according to North Georgia Group analysis. More importantly, Forsyth County grew at 2.4% in the year ending April 2025, the fastest growth rate in the entire 11-county Atlanta region, per the Atlanta Regional Commission. That growth is being driven by the Halcyon Mixed-Use District, Big Creek Greenway expansion, and new SR 400 interchange work that is reshaping connectivity across the area. And fourth, Roswell. The Redfin February 2026 data shows Roswell median prices up 4.9% year over year to $645,000, with days on market actually contracting to 47 days from 52 days the year before. In a market where most areas are seeing extended days on market, Roswell moving faster than last year is a meaningful signal. This is where it gets interesting. So now here's the part that is going to surprise some people. And I want to be clear about what I mean by loser here, because I am not talking about areas that are going to collapse. I'm talking about areas where the appreciation trajectory is likely to be flatter, slower, and more volatile than buyers might expect if they're using the old model as their reference point. The number that tells the story most clearly right now is the Alpharetta data. Redfin's January 2026 data shows Alpharetta median prices down 12.1% year over year, selling for a median of $712,000, with average days on market at 71 days, up from 62 days the year before. For context, the U.S. national median days on market in March 2026 was 55 days per Redfin. Alpharetta is sitting above the national average in a market that has historically moved very quickly. Now, Zillow's data tells a slightly different story. Their typical home value for Alpharetta is $656,261, up 2.6% over the past year. That discrepancy between Redfin and Zillow data is worth noting, and it reflects the fact that Alpharetta's market is genuinely segmented. Some price points are holding up, others are not, but the consistent theme across both data sources is that the luxury end of Alpharetta, above $800,000 and especially above $1 million, is where extended days on market and price reductions are most common. So what is driving this? It is not a mystery. Alpharetta built its brand on the promise of the best of everything: schools, amenities, prestige address at a price that was justified when the rest of the North Metro was playing catch up. But the rest of the North Metro has caught up. Swanee, for example, now has Lambert High School ranked as 10 out of 10 and a comparable quality of life at a significantly lower price point. Roswell and Duluth offer similar access to North Fulton employment corridors at a discount. The other area I want to flag is the new outer suburban fringe, the raw land conversions that are still trying to run the old model in places where the infrastructure has not yet arrived. These are the communities where you see farmland to subdivision conversions without confirmed school capacity, without highway access improvements already funded, and without the commercial amenities that buyers now expect as a baseline. Watch for extended days on market in those areas and price reductions that signal a mismatch between the developer's pricing expectations and what buyers are actually willing to pay. But the data reveals something important for the people watching this video. So what does this mean for buyers? So if you are a buyer watching this right now, especially if you are relocating from out of state, here is how to translate everything I just told you into a practical decision framework. First, pay attention to days on market data before you make an offer, not just the listing price. In March 2026, 29% of homes across Georgia had price drop, up from 25% a year ago per Redfin. That number tells you that the days of bidding wars across the board are behind us. You now have room to negotiate in segments where days on market are trending up. That is new leverage that did not exist in this market 18 to 24 months ago. Second, focus your search in the $450,000 to $700,000 range within Gwinnett, North Fulton, and South Forsyth. That is the zone where demand is most stable, where new construction is most active, and where the long-term fundamentals tied to population growth and employment access are strongest. The Georgia Office of Planning and Budget projects Gwinnett County to exceed 1.25 million residents by 2060. That demand base does not disappear. It means well-positioned assets in the right price range will retain value even as the broader market recalibrates. Third, do not skip the due diligence on infrastructure before you buy in a newer community. The question to ask is not just what are the schools rated right now, but what does this area look like in 5 years when the build-out is complete? Is the road capacity already planned and funded? Is there a commercial corridor already developed? Or is the community dependent on a single grocery anchor that has not broken ground yet? These are the questions that separate buyers who time the market correctly from buyers who get caught holding an asset in a community that never fully assembled. Fourth, and I know this is counterintuitive when rates are still elevated, the window to buy before the next wave of out-of-state relocation buyers arrive is open right now. Georgia's population reached 11.3 million as of July 2025 per the Georgia Office of Planning and Budget. And the state continues to attract residents from California, New York, and Florida. The inbound pipeline does not slow down. The buyers who get positioned in the right North Metro communities before that wave fully materializes will have the advantage. Now, I appreciate this video is all about predicting the future, but if you are considering relocating in the next few months and you want advice from somebody that has been living and working in Atlanta for 10 years, then drop me a text or give me a call at 770-906-0748. And based on your budget and your preferences, we can work out the best neighborhoods for your budget. And now, on to our final point. So what does this mean for sellers? Now, let me flip to the sellers watching this video, and this applies whether you are in Gwinnett, Duluth, Swanee, Alpharetta, Johns Creek, or anywhere else across the North Metro corridor I cover. The most important thing you need to understand right now is that the Georgia Realtors 2025 annual report shows sellers received 95.4% of original list price on average last year, down from prior year levels. So that number represents a structural shift. It means that the era of listing high and waiting for the market to justify your price is over for most of the North Metro. The market is paying 95 cents on the dollar from your original ask, not 102 cents. So what that requires from you is precision pricing from day one. Homes priced at fair market value are selling. Homes that are aspirationally priced are sitting at 60 plus days and then taking cuts that often land them below where a sharp list price would have opened. Every week a home sits is a week that buyers are asking, why hasn't this sold? And in today's market, that question erodes negotiating power faster than it used to for sellers. Second, presentation is not optional. According to analysis from the North Georgia Group, deferred maintenance is a deal killer in a $600,000 plus market. Buyers are more discerning now because they have more inventory to choose from. They're comparing your home on the same day they toured 3 others. Staging and professional photography are the baseline, not a differentiator. Third, timing your sale matters more than it did in a seller's market. Spring is still the strongest seasonal window. If you are in a community with strong school district access, Suwanee, Duluth, areas within the Gwinnett County Public School Zone, listing before the summer school deadline creates urgency for relocation buyers who are making decisions on a timeline. That urgency is your leverage. Use it by listing properly positioned in late February or March rather than waiting until April or May when competition increases. And fourth, if you are in the luxury segment above $850,000, be especially realistic. The Housing Wire analysis from late 2025 showed 39.9% of active Atlanta metro listings had price reductions, well above the typical market level of 30 to 35%. The higher you go in price, the more patient and deliberate the buyer pool is. That means more days on market regardless of condition. And that means your carrying costs are part of the equation from the moment you decide to list. That is very important to note. So when does all of this actually play out? And what are the specific signals you should be watching? Here's how I see the next 12 to 36 months unfolding across the North Metro. In the near term, the next 12 months, expect continued normalization. The Premier Atlanta Real Estate 2025 year-end report, it analyzed FMLS data going back to 2012 and describes 2026 as most likely being a year of flat to modest recovery for the Metro as a whole, with inventory stabilizing in the 4.5 to 5.0 months of supply range. That is not a crash. It is a reset to a market where strategy matters more than timing luck. The indicator I would watch most closely is the months of supply number for Gwinnett County specifically. Redfin currently shows Gwinnett at a supply of around 3.5 months. If that number rises toward 4.5 months or beyond, you are moving into genuine buyer leverage territory. If it holds below 3.5 months, the underlying demand from population growth is absorbing supply, and you have a more competitive environment. Longer term, the next 5 to 10 years, the FIFA World Cup 2026 is a real factor that most people are underestimating as a catalyst. Atlanta is hosting 8 matches at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, including a semifinal with an estimated $503.2 million economic contribution to Georgia's economy, according to Colliers US. And the city is deploying a $120 million transportation infrastructure bond covering street resurfacing, roadway upgrades, expanded sidewalks, and multimodal enhancements per the City of Atlanta's official World Cup preparation announcements. That infrastructure investment does not evaporate after the last match. It stays. Think about the Olympics, the Summer Olympics back in 1996, and how that made an impact. And it makes the broader metro more attractive to employers and residents who make longer-term location decisions. And that is the through line of everything I covered in this video. Atlanta is not slowing down. The city itself is the 3rd fastest growing metro area in the United States per US Census Bureau data. What is changing is which specific communities within the North Metro are going to capture the next phase of that growth, and which communities are relying on a model that no longer has the same tailwinds it used to. And the buyers and sellers who understand that distinction in 2026 are the ones who will look back in 10 years and feel good about the decisions they made right now. So understanding this shift is the first step. Knowing exactly which communities fit your budget and your priorities is the step that protects your investment. Because even in a market that is changing, the right suburb at the right price point is still one of the best long-term decisions you can make. If you're thinking about making a move to Atlanta, I put together a free Atlanta relocation guide that covers everything you need to know before you come. Grab it at the link in the description, and I will see you there.